Energy Dome has made a headline with the successful closure of 15 million extension on its Series B funding round. What is interesting is also the kind of investor that they have been including in this round, including Vopak, Sagana, and then we can talk about it. Energy storage has been like one of probably the key topic that have been like protagonists in a lot of energy clean tech fund. So that's super interesting, and I think definitely like worth exploring. What was very interesting about this technology is the use of this closed thermodynamic cycle. So essentially the idea here is to use some closed loop to actually be able to generate energy continuously. Welcome to the Week in Italian Startup, where we discuss the latest highlights happening in the Italian tech and investment ecosystem. Welcome back to another exciting episode of the Week in Italian Startup. As always, we are here to bring you the latest news and updates from the dynamic world of Italian startup. So Nick, how's it going?
Ciao Jack, all is great. How are you doing?
Very good, very good. So very interesting deals happening in the past week on different fronts. So let's kick off today's episode with some news about clean energy. So clean energy storage startup Energy Dome has made a headline with the successful closure of 15 million extension on its Series B funding round. So basically Energy Dome already opened a Series B, and then this is like the latest part. This brings to the total to, I think, 55 million euro, which is a very substantial amount, given, first of all, the current VC conditions, and secondly, actually, for like a Series B in Italy, that's pretty like a big round, I would say. And what is interesting is also the kind of investor that they have been including in this round, including Vopak, Sagana, and then we can talk about it. Before that, I thought it would be interesting to actually just understand a little bit the kind of the cutting edge technology, because energy storage has been like one of probably the key topic that have been like protagonists in a lot of energy clean tech fund. So that's super interesting, and I think definitely like worth exploring. So the way I think about it, and I'm trying to get it right, even though I'm not I'm a complete beginner when it comes to engineering. So there are two things that we need to know. So first of all are the property of CO2 gases, and second of all is the closed loop thermodynamic cycle. And those are the two main things to know to understand the kind of products that they're doing. So first of all, the CO2 part, basically, I didn't know honestly, and basically what's happening is that CO2 can assume a liquid form and a gas form, or some state in between, which is called like the superstate. And when it's in that situation, is basically CO2 becomes a very good. It actually includes it provide like very good energy storage capacity. So first thing to understand is really the kind of these kind of properties of CO2. Everybody think of it as gas, but it's way more than that. It's very more dynamic. The second element, which I thought was very interesting about this technology, is the use of this closed thermodynamic cycle. So essentially the idea here is to use some closed loop to actually be able to generate energy continuously. So there is no essentially emission, exhaust is something that essentially is in a literally like it's a closed loop. And the loop works in two phases. One is the charging phase, when basically the machine compresses CO2 into the liquid form, and that becomes storage. And then it becomes deployed. When it's deployed, it changes status. It goes through turbines. And what is interesting is that produces, of course, electricity or whatever energy that needs. And the cycle theoretically can really go on forever. So what is interesting is that they have two products right now that they have been developing. One is literally like a battery. They call it CO2 battery. And through this closed loop cycle, which, by the way, for the people that wanna go deeper on this. It's called Brayton cycle, CO2 Brayton cycle. It's one of the big guys in thermodynamics. So this allows basically a very, very efficient way to produce electricity and especially like with no emission, no CO2 like emission. Literally is a self-sustained system. And that's the first product. The second product is actually a boost on top of this battery. So basically they associate another like generator, which is actually like a CO2 generator. So it's a more traditional one that works off the fumes, actually a turbine. It's a turbine that works off the fumes of the electric generator. So think of it as, the first turbine works with the CO2, gives power to a generator, generates electricity, but the generator itself essentially produces gases, heat, etc. And the second sort of turbine is fed with these like results of the generator mechanism. So after my messy explanation, I think we can actually have like a very appreciation of what has been going on, and I thought it was very interesting. Apparently, this technology has been around for a while. Not too well known to the general public, I would say, but definitely like super promising, especially right now. So the studies, the engineering study dates back the beginning of the 20th century, really, and then it was applied with different fluids. And now CO2 fluids with closed thermodynamic cycle are sort of the cutting edge technology. And so super interesting, great investors in the cap table. So I thought that was particularly interesting also. Starting.
So I was taking a look at the investor list. So all the investors that historically put money into Energy Dome. It's quite long, I would say, with very nice and strong names in there. So from Bloomberg, Barclays. So there's also Bloomberg and NEF. I don't know what that is. Grant, 360 Capital Partners, Third Derivative. That's very nice name for an accelerator focused on clean energy from Colorado. Elemental Accelerator. That I think you want to say something about it.
Yeah.
ENI,
absolutely.
Company. Japan Energy Funds. And Novo Capital Partners, Barclays again, Neva SGR, so basically the corporate VC of Bank Intesa, so bank, CDP, IDO Investments, from Oman, the Sultanate Technology Investment Firm, nonetheless. And then, as you said, Vopak Ventures and 360 again. So, quite a diverse, long, and powerful list of investors.
What really caught my eye was really like a couple of those, which is, of course, Vopak, I have a soft spot for corporations that have like a very, long range view and support early stage companies. So Vopak essentially is one of the big multinational in the Netherlands, and basically it's an independent tank storage company. That manufacture these like storage facilities for oil product, chemicals, liquefied petroleum and natural gases, and biofuel. Based in Rotterdam, is a public company. The revenue is about 1.4 billion in 2022, so pretty big as a company. They have a venture arm, and it's very interesting because they have a very clear thesis on the website. Actually, there is like a specific page basically saying how exactly Vopak Venture supports companies, and it gives like access essentially to like a lot of assets from Vopak itself. And the idea really is to not only to integrate technology, but actually to help companies scale. So they have this double element, which is strategic, but also financial and supporting like founder scale. Of course, they have like offices all around the world, and that's literally, I believe, for very technical startup is a very, very good asset to have when it comes to actually scaling business internationally. So that's a great thesis, I thought. So yeah, very interesting with Vopak. And then Sagana. Sagana is pretty interesting too. Sagana is a Zurich-based investment firm. They also do investment consulting, and they're focused on impact. So I believe they have roughly 13 impact investments in their portfolio. The team is pretty substantial, 15 to 20 people. And yeah, they play especially in the sustainable impact area, European based, of course. So they're like looking also a lot into Europe, but very interesting player for sure as a structure. Awesome. So yeah, no, definitely an interesting deal. Definitely curious to see like application and how exactly the guys are going to scale the two product, given this like massive network ranging from Japan, the Middle East, the US, etc., etc. So super interesting. All right, let's shift gear and talk about Italian digital banks and how they approach the startup ecosystem. So it's not being like a particularly active moment this year for banks. Well, it was tough for VCs, imagine for banks. So I'm sure everything is kind of slower even there. But we have good example of actually banks, especially digital banks, and in this case it's going to be Illimity. Financing with debt structures, different deals. And last week, BizAway got basically a debt facility of 10 million euro through Illimity Digital Bank. And that's very interesting because we don't see that much. And Illimity is been relatively active as a bank supporting companies. And yeah, I thought it was particularly relevant given the full macro scenario.
Yeah, I agree. I have to say that it's not a small debt facility, the one that Illimity granted to BizAway is 10 million. Considering that BizAway raised 10 million in the latest equity round, so it's a sizable facility, and that's interesting. That's really interesting.
Yeah, I don't know how banks are gonna react. Maybe we're gonna see some more like opening, like as soon as sort of the slump will flip over, and then maybe they kind of to be honest, they're getting way more organized than before. Like a big example, like as we always see, like Valsabina, Neva. People like banks actually activating their own investment, like a team on early stage companies. So things are moving, and it looks like actually it's the kind of the macro environment slowing down everything. That's my take on that. What do you think, Nick?
No, I totally agree. We are in a new market for many players, and I believe that the ones with more appetite for risk and ability to execute and pick the right deals will do well. So totally agree.
Interesting. All right, moving on. Let's talk about BCode, the Web3 startup raising 2 million euro in a club deal with Business Angel. So interesting because again, Web3 deals, they're not common anymore. So let's maybe talk about what is happening there in the ashes, in the post-apocalyptic world of Web3.
Yeah, it seems that something is moving actually. Even in Italy, this is not the first deal that we talk about in the last few weeks. In the crypto space, the latest one was a trading firm, and today we are a platform based out of Web3, offering solutions to use NFTs to businesses, to companies. Mm-hmm. So it is probably something that will become normal. So basically,
yeah. What is going to be NFT 2.0? I mean, of course, the art application unfortunately like went down, devaluing like asset that people thought they were like very very solid, but still technology is there and. Companies probably are still interested in technology. I agree. That's definitely powerful.
Yeah. So basically, because it looks like they're selling, so basically some of the features of NFTs. So you need the ability to engage users or customers with a wallet. So having, your own, as a brand, your application in the smartphone of the user with goods that you can provide in a unique way to the user. It is interesting that on the homepage they say, without crypto. So you pay in euro, no crypto needed. So this is, I think, an important understanding around usability. So I mean, me and you, maybe we can, we can manage to buy some weird token. But your average user, if you are a watch company or a consumer products company, no, they don't. They probably don't want to. And, onboarding these type of users without having them, setting up some weird applications and hash codes and strings of characters that you don't know what they are. That's probably a very important feature that brands are more than happy to embrace.
Good point.
Here we see the investment round. The round is actually a club deal round, so I think there is no a professional investor fund involved, but it's still 2 million round. It's no easy fit. So very good to see these things going on.
Interesting. All right, let's talk about United Venture announcing a first closing of a new flagship fund, UV3. Basically, the target is 150 million. They raised 65 million so far. Excellent execution, of course. Again, in this weird economy for sure. Few interesting elements, I would say. Let's maybe give some ideas in terms of the thesis and maybe the kind of the check size. So they're aiming at investing in company disrupting ecosystem that are yet undisrupted. So that's really the first take, but I'm sure they're gonna refine it as it goes for sure. Check size 1 to 8 million in check size, I would say roughly. United Ventures is one of the big players in Italy right now with about $500 million in asset under management, and they're investing not only in Italy but internationally as well. So definitely a great team with some very good track record.
Mm-hmm. This is their fourth fund. The fund was started in 2013, so they are one of the oldest venture capital firms of the new wave, let me call it that way. And the third flagship funds, we also have to account for a growth fund that they launched in 2021 that I believe raised around 150 million in total.
Yeah.
So one of the oldest and one of the biggest-ish VC firm, pure VC firms in Italy. And I also believe one of the few that are actually truly international. Hope the others will not take offense from this, but United Ventures historically being a bit later stage than the other main players in Italy, pure Italian players, they tend to be a bit more international in terms of market vision. So I'm very happy to see them launching a new fund. We really need a bit of later stage investors on the Italian market. So kudos to the team for raising in these market conditions.
100%. All right, so that concludes this week's episode of the Week in Italian Startup. So we hope you enjoyed these updates as much as we did bringing them to you. Be sure to stay tuned for more exciting news and stories from the world of Italian startup. See you, Nick.
Thank you very much, Jack. Take care. See you, everybody. Ciao, ciao.